This game is once in a century. Be there at Casey Center on February 12th. Go to HarlemGlobetrotters.com for your tickets to the 100-year tour.
Hey, it's Murph and Andy, and we love talking sports and more.
Catch us live at 1 o'clock every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right here on Iowa Everywhere.
And if you miss it, just go to iowaeverywhere.com. You can watch or listen there or wherever you find your podcasts.
Chad Leistikow, Scott Dochterman, the two biggest Hawkeye and Big Ten beat writers, together on one show. Game Day Men's Health proudly presents Legends and Listeners. Best enjoyed with an easy Eddie from Big Grove Brewery. This is Legends and Listeners, exclusively on Iowa Everywhere.
Hey, Hawkeye fans, Big Ten fans, and Iowans everywhere. Man, every week it seems like we have major things to talk about, big changes going on. I mean, we should probably do this show more than once a week, maybe. Matt Campbell departs to Penn State. Indiana is the number one seed in college football. I mean, who would have believed that headline 2 years ago, let alone 10 years ago. Iowa football has what Scott Dochterman and the Athletic are calling the best non-playoff matchup of the bowl season. And, of course, it is Cy-Hawk Hoops Week on steroids with big matchups tonight with the women and tomorrow with the men. You picked a great time to join us here on Legends and Listeners here on a Wednesday morning. Yes, we're on a Wednesday morning this week to kind of preview Cy-Hawk Hoops. We'll do that toward the end of the show. We are coming to you from the Channel Seed Studios. Happy to do that only on Iowa Everywhere. Of course, I am Chad Leistikow of the Des Moines Register. That is the sometimes snarky Scott Dochterman of the Athletic, and I'm hoping to get some snark out of him later in the show. We'll see. And we are presented by GameDay Men's Health. What a week, Scott.
Yeah, what a week. It's been a wild week, no question about it. I mean, I spent my Saturday in Indianapolis watching one of the craziest moments when you take the step back. I mean, Indiana not only won the Big Ten, but it wasn't a fluke. And Indiana was able to do it physically, up front, line of scrimmage, play, beat Ohio State, 9 tackles for loss, held Ohio State to 58 yards rushing. Reindeer not only can fly, but they can swim. That's the way I would look at it. That Indiana, the losingest team in NCAA history, which was erased a couple of weeks ago, is now the Big Ten champion and the number one seed in the upcoming college football playoff.
Yeah, that's crazy. We'll talk about that here as we go, but I think the biggest news of the week actually doesn't involve the Hawkeyes and doesn't even involve the Hoosiers. It's Penn State's hiring. What's that?
Biggest news here in the state of Iowa.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, here in Iowa Everywhere. It would be the Matt Campbell withdrawal from the state of Iowa and deposited into Happy Valley. This news impacts the Hawkeyes in lots of ways, so we're definitely going to talk about that. But what did you make of the fact that, I mean, we've been talking about this show for a while. Like, why wouldn't Penn State go get Matt Campbell? Like, we know how good he is. You've covered Campbell pretty closely here now for years at the Athletic. So what is your reaction on kind of how this came together and sort of the fit there with Matt Campbell in State College?
There's so many different angles here, and I know our friends doing the other podcasts really, explore the Iowa State angle. But I think for the Penn State angle, this has been a mess of a search that they accidentally tripped, fell down, and oh wow, here's a gold piece. That's really the way I look at it here, because firing James Franklin after a 3-3 start when he was within half a minute of going to the national title game last year, I mean, that's a questionable move. And some of the targets they went after, including Kalani Sitake from BYU earlier last week, and decided to stay put. I mean, they were the last one standing as far as major college jobs out there. And whether or not they fell into Matt Campbell, Pat Kraft was pretty effusive in that once he met with Matt Campbell, he knew he was the guy. We can all speculate as to whether or not that was truly the case, but I can tell you this, that Matt Campbell is the right fit for Penn State. He has done a remarkable job. I think you can listen to Kirk Ferentz's comments Sunday and I know you were on that call there for the bowl, and Kirk was very heavy in his praise of Matt Campbell, and rightly so. I think there's a lot of respect mutually that went back and forth in this, that Kirk doesn't always say those types of things about other rivals in his league, and he certainly did about Matt. And now, what does it mean for Penn State? I think this year is going to be a challenging year for Penn State. I think they'll be competitive because of the talent that they usually grab, but I think in year 2 and 3 is where Matt Campbell will make his voice heard and his prowess as a coach felt in the Big Ten. And I think this is an opportunity for Penn State to take the next step, because we know what Matt's been able to do against top 5 competition in Ames. I mean, he's done it repeatedly over and over again. James Franklin can never do that at Penn State.
Well, that's why it was crazy that I wondered why they weren't, like, he wasn't right at the top of the list. I mean, we talked, you're talking about like Matt, I don't know how serious Matt Rule stuff was, but I bet it was decently serious. Like, would you really take Matt Rule over Matt Campbell? Like, that's crazy to think about. And that was like the first name that kind of came up. And I don't know, I know he had a relationship with Pat Kraft or whatever, but man, I mean, it's startling to me that Campbell did not get snapped up sooner. And yeah, you're right. I think they fell into this. My view of the Campbell fit there is just, Franklin is very much, hey, give him credit. I mean, he's won a lot of games at Penn State. Obviously, wasn't necessarily big game James for the most part, but he has a reputation of a lot of flash, a lot of salesman in him, a lot of, I don't know, just a lot of it's about him. Mm-hmm. I feel like, and I think Campbell's kind of the opposite of that. I think he's going to fit Penn State in that way. Yeah. I mean, as far as like somebody who respects Campbell for what he's done, I hope that Penn State fans do kind of give him a chance to build it in the way that he wants to build it, because it's almost, Scott, and I would like your thoughts on this too, because it almost feels like it's a test case of like, what if you put Kirk Ferentz at a Penn State type thing? Because Campbell's builds a program similarly, right? And we'll never know about Kirk Ferentz. Like, could he have built just a juggernaut, like Nick Saban did with Alabama, at Penn State? Like, because Kirk never left. He didn't go for that king job or whatever. So I'm kind of curious how it plays out in that respect too. And I do think it's going to play out really, if I had to predict, I think it's going to play out really well, which is not necessarily good for Iowa in the every 3 years or so that it plays Penn State.
Yeah, and who knows? I mean, they could win every other time or whatever. I mean, Penn State and Iowa's been a great series for a long time, no matter who the coaches are. Mostly it's been Kirk Ferentz, but I would expect that to continue, at least as long as Kirk Ferentz is the head coach. But I think when it comes to what he can do, his developmental philosophy and shape, he is really a younger version, like the next generation version of Kirk Ferentz. And we saw how it worked so well at Iowa State, because they didn't skip a step. They built it hard and kept culture really important and really focused on that. And my philosophy on who's a good coach versus a very good to great coach is, can you do that with a different cast of characters a couple of different times? And Matt Campbell was able to do that. He kind of, he had Alan Lazard when he got there, Hakeem Butler, and some of these other really good, talented players, David Montgomery. Then you did it with Breece Hall and Brock Purdy and others. And then now, of course, moving, the most recent versions with Rocco Becht and whatever. And I think going to Penn State, he's going to be able to do that with a higher echelon of athlete. And right. Penn State has not had a coach that's been there that is so ingrained in the community, engaged in a way that everybody can rally around. Because as you mentioned, James Franklin, I mean, let's face it, was a tremendous recruiter, tremendous pitch man, very good coach. You're not going to get the success that he had without being a good coach. Couldn't get over the top for whatever reason. And it was polarizing there that they just couldn't quite buy all the way in. And, Joe Paterno was aging for a long time before he left, he was in his 80s by the time he left, So
he was aging for a long time.
I know. Well, I don't
It's
know
just a funny phrase. I know it's funny, but it's right. Yeah, it's right. Yeah.
I mean, he was, by the time he was
towel
in
around his neck, and
yeah. So, but I think Matt, he's a Rust Belt guy, and he's not flashy, but he has charisma. But I think he's going to kind of endear himself to Central Pennsylvania and the Penn State fans, especially if they go out. And his intensity is very high. I mean, he has a fire that you can see. And I kind of joke. I said he kind of looks like Zach De La Rocha, the lead singer of Rage Against the Machine, when he gets going. He just doesn't have the dreadlocks, And so
he's got the curled cap.
Yeah, exactly. And, he's just going to have to, for anybody that's colorblind won't see any differences, but he's going to have to go from, wearing black all the time at Iowa State to now wearing navy.
That's right. The whiteouts. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Iowa doesn't play Penn State again until 2028. Iowa also doesn't play Michigan State with Pat Fitzgerald until 2028. So, a couple rematches for Kirk Ferentz, maybe, but will he coach those games? Who knows? But he will return in 2026. But what do you think? I did want to ask, certain Iowa State makes a quick hire right after, grabs Jimmy Rogers from Washington State. And, obviously we're not a, Big 12 or Cyclone show, but this does impact, the Iowa plays them every year. So how do you think how big of an impact, certainly losing Campbell's a major. He's the best coach in Iowa State history. It's going to make an impact, just like when Kirk leaves.
Yeah.
But how big of a drop off do you expect, just in general? It's hard to say right now, but I just don't. It's hard to imagine losing a stellar coach like Campbell and not having a drop off.
I think based on the players that are hitting the portal and that are going to hit the portal for Iowa State, it's going to be significant in the short term. It might be a tough first year because when you lose that many players, yes, you could go out and get them in the transfer portal, but that means you got to mold them and bring them in and put them in kind of the way you want to build your program. And I think that may be a bit of a challenge for him. It's kind of open season now for Iowa State's recruits, the 2027 guys. We saw, one of the most important ones that had already committed to Iowa State, Will Schlegel, reopened his commitment, a 4-star tackle from Grinnell. And he said he's not saying no to Iowa State right now. What he's saying is he just wants to meet the staff, which makes perfect sense. This is a significant future for him. And so that there's going to be a lot of stories like that. And, if you're Iowa, you keep your eyes open. There's no, there are no rules here. If somebody is looking, inquire. You've got opportunities there, and so I think for the short term, it may be a little bit of a grind for Iowa State, but he had to face the same thing at Washington State too, and they lost a ton. John Mateer quarterback went to Oklahoma, and he had him competitive there. He's a good coach. It's just it might take a little bit of time. Sure.
Okay. What about sticking with the Cyhawk theme here, the Hawkeyes are under contract for 2 more years with Iowa State. It seems like so much talk now as we get into the college football playoff talk is like, what's the point of scheduling tough in the non-con? Do you think any of this between the college football playoff and kind of like a little bit of a transition in names, you think that impacts whether Iowa and Iowa State play in the future?
That's a great question. I
feel like I feel like at some point it's gonna. Unless something changes in college football, because right now you're not getting punished for playing 3 patsies.
Well, the problem is that the SEC is next year going to 9 games, 9+1. I mean, they are going up, and the ACC is going to 9 games. So you don't really want to take that step back when everybody else is taking that step forward. You know, there is a big question, though. I mean, do Iowa and Iowa State benefit by playing one another? And obviously, the rivalry matters to the people in the state, and it matters to the teams. It's everything that's good about college sports. You want to continue to play it, but you know, I've had conversations with Jamie and as well as other people at Iowa, and you know, and there are things like, well, does it benefit Iowa State to play it? Because, you know, even if you win, great, but if you don't, that really puts you in the doghouse. And you know, back, especially, it depends on what you're examining. I mean, 10 years ago, when it was like just to get to a bowl game, it didn't make a lot of sense that way. Now it does with Matt, because he's got him competitive, or had him competitive. It's just, I think, you know, 2 years left is it's starting to get to that question. Are you going to extend it? Kirk has always been in favor of it. But, you know, there hasn't been any talk about the SEC Big Ten Challenge recently, but that's something that could be revived, and that could have, you know, that could alter the relationship.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't anticipate anything changing. I'm just kind of curious, like, if they're, you know, it was a great point you made. Like, what value does Iowa State get from it now? Because their way to get in is to win the Big 12 title anyway, probably. So I think there is an advantage for playing it, because it gives you an extra data point if you do win it, you know. And let's say you finish second. Let's say you're BYU this year. Yeah. But you've got that quality win against you know, potentially a 8-4, 9-3 Iowa team on the road or something, and you can add that data point to get into the playoff. I don't know. So I think I certainly think it benefits Iowa State personally, but and
but
right now it's go ahead.
But what we saw with BYU is they were 11-2. I mean, there's not a lot. The committee has shown it doesn't respect necessarily the ACC and the Big 12. I mean, Miami had to, and the ACC itself had to basically punch the living daylights out of Notre Dame to get Miami in the tournament, which will have long-lasting ramifications. So, I mean, seriously, it's going to be bad between those two entities. So, I think this is, you know, if you're Iowa State, I mean, you got to do what's in your best interest. I think Iowa does too, which is if playing this game is in your best interest, then play it. If it's not in the big picture, then consider the options. And but then again, then you start to cut back. And it's like, then what are you playing the sport for if you're not playing your rivals, if you're not playing teams you care about, your fans care about, your fans and their friends and family. So I don't want to see it go away. I think it's too important.
Yeah, I'm with you. I used to be probably on the other side. I used to think, why is Iowa playing this at a certain point in my life? But I've kind of come around to a little bit more of the thinking of, here's my latest thinking. Is Iowa is never, I mean, I'm sorry, but Iowa's probably not ever going to win a national championship in my lifetime. And so let's have some fun games, you know? Let's not play Albany instead of Iowa State. You know, like let's have the fun games. You know, that's why it's cool that Iowa has 4 trophy games, and all of them matter a ton every year. No matter how good the Hawkeyes are, those 4 for sure are going to matter. And you know, like I said, it'd be fun to see Iowa play. The only thing I would like them to see. I would like to see them play like a different non-conference power team sometime in our lives. You know, but I don't want them to add an 11th game necessarily either. So, but I mean, push comes to shove, I'd rather keep it.
Yeah, only do that if everybody else does it. You know, and if everybody else goes to 11 or 12, you decide, okay, we're only going to play autonomy conference teams. Yes, that would be great. But you know, we see this in basketball, Chad, with the ending of the in-state series. Other than Iowa State, I mean, they don't play Northern Iowa or Drake anymore, and I think it takes something out of the state in basketball. This is the week. This is the time of year where people start to transition into that basketball frame of mind. And it was always good. Like a night like tonight would have been Iowa State or Iowa versus UNI. And then in another week and a half, it had been against Drake. And you're just kind of like, okay, now you're kind of interested in basketball, but now you don't have that. We just have one game. And I think you would do the same thing. If because Fran would always say, well, this opens us up to playing other teams, and then you're playing Chicago State,
Right.
and it's like, come on, you're just, why?
Yeah, well, we won't go down that rabbit hole tonight. But I do want to talk about the Big Ten championship game. But first, it is getting cold outside, and that sucks. But one constant ray of sunshine each week is my visit to GameDay Men's Health for that weekly injection of sweet, delicious, energizing testosterone. The good people at GameDay Men's Health take such good care of their people. And Scott and I are happy to be some of their people. At GameDay, testosterone replacement therapy is borderline essential for old dudes like us, or it can be, who may have lost a step here or there in the things that we do. But GameDay Men's Health can truly help you feel like you're in your 20s again. I can totally attest to that. They also help with injuries, weight loss, erectile dysfunction, and more. But where they have helped me and us so much is with their testosterone replacement therapy. Couldn't be happier with my experience at GameDay, including the good-natured shit that Nicole gives me every Wednesday at the West Des Moines office. Get connected with GameDay Men's Health for a private, no obligation, free consultation by visiting GameDayMen'sHealth.com, or just stop by one of the locations in the aforementioned West Des Moines, Ankeny, or North Liberty, and also in Naperville, Illinois. So thank you, GameDay, for presenting us each week. We love it.
When you said good natured, I thought you were going to stop there. I'm like, wow, it does a lot of things that I didn't even know about that.
They don't help with like incontinence or whatever. Yeah.
But
not that I know of.
You never know, I suppose. But
yeah.
No, it's been a godsend for me, as all of you know, on my journey from feeling like a bloated cheese ball to now being able to be like string cheese, so I'm 60 pounds down. I'm 60 pounds down. I feel great. Other than being really run down this time of year, which everybody is who's in football or covers football. But I'm in much better shape to withstand the grind and that I've experienced and I'm going to experience here in the few weeks. So thanks
Absolutely.
to GameDay Men's Health.
So let's talk about the Hoosiers. Let's talk about the Big Ten. Gets 3 teams in, 3 of the top 5 seeds, probably as expected. The 1 seed, Indiana, 2 seed, Ohio State, 5 seed, Oregon. Of course, the Hawkeyes lost heartbreakers to the 1 and 5 seeds. We'll get to the Hawkeyes here shortly, Scott. But what are your thoughts sort of on whatever comes to your mind here about the Big Ten? I mean, I feel like the Big Ten has a really good chance here to get 1, if not 2 teams into the title game this year. It could be an all Big Ten final.
Yeah, it could be. Indiana and Ohio State playing in Miami. That would be something.
Yeah.
And I think both teams have the makeup to be able to do that. I think Oregon is close, but I'm not quite as sold on Oregon running the full race this year. They're still pretty young, but Indiana showed me a lot. I was kind of wondering, could they withstand the onslaught that they were going to get, especially from Ohio State's defense? And Ohio State's defense was fantastic. I mean, allowing 13 points to that team that scores 40 some odd points a game, but it also showed me who might be holding the big trophy on Saturday night, and that's Fernando Mendoza, because what he's been able to do in the big critical games is come up with great big credible plays. We saw it firsthand in Iowa City. The pass to Elijah Surratt. He got smoked a couple of times, and the Iowa's blitz kept coming at him, and he was able to deliver the ball. I mean, at Indiana, he had to brush off a pick 6, at Oregon and score. And then the other night, it was 10-6 midway through the third quarter, and he was able to lead them on a touchdown drive, and then and without Omar Cooper, who went out with an ankle injury in the first quarter, and then late in the game, and this is a credit to Cignetti, it's a credit to Mendoza and Charlie Becker, who made the catch. It was 3rd and 6 with a little over 2 minutes, 2:40 left in their own territory, and he threw a bomb and he caught it. one-on-one coverage, and that won them the game. And I mean, that's a gutsy call, that's a gutsy play, and it's a play you have to make, because otherwise you're punting back to Ohio State, who then will have enough time to score. And Ohio State tripped all over themselves a couple of times, and which is why I'm picking them to win it all. But still, kudos to Indiana. They've won. This is their third Big Ten title ever. The last one in '67 was a three-way tie with Purdue and Minnesota. Tells you, how long ago that was. And then in '45, the troops came back to Indiana faster than everywhere else, so they won the Big Ten that year.
Wow, how about that? Yeah, well, great points all across the board. And you were one of the first ones, I would say, nationally, Scott, to really trumpet Indiana. Like you had my radar up on them when we did summer podcasts. We were doing our predictions. I picked Iowa to go 10-2, as everyone knows. Yeah. And one of the losses I had was to Indiana because of kind of what you had talked them up a lot, and you were right. So I want to give you credit. You've been on them for a while, and I'm guessing you're going to be covering them, right? The Indiana was on your list for The Athletic. Am I correct?
Right now it looks like I might not do the middle game, the semifinals, but I think I'm going to do the Rose Bowl and then the championship. Either way. So going to Pasadena is pretty cool. I kind of dig that place.
Yeah, no kidding.
And there's nothing like seeing the sunset over the San Gabriel Mountains there. But,
yeah.
Or where you're going. I love that bowl game too. So, but I mean, Indiana is it is one of the greatest stories ever in college football, and it hasn't gotten enough due because there's been so much else changing in the sport. But Indiana, I mean, it's just for years it was just everybody scheduled for homecoming. They beat Iowa once every 10 years or so, and it was like, oh, I can't believe they beat them, or James Hardy would go crazy, or Antoine Randall or somebody like that. But now, I mean, they are really, really good, and they've got a great coach, which leads me to some of the things that I've been dealing with on Twitter, which really pisses me off. I'll be honest with you.
Why can't Iowa be like Indiana?
Why can't Iowa be like Indiana? I know. God, it drives me crazy because you know what? Everybody wants to be like Indiana right now. Every single team is saying, why can't we do that? And for Iowa fans to do it, and what was frustrating is I was writing my game story about Indiana doing it, and then all the Iowa fans started responding, why can't we do it? Well, it's because this is a miracle. This is loaves and fishes miracle. It's biblical. So that's why it happened there. Second of all, take ownership of what you got. You've got a hell of a coach. He's one of the best coaches in NCAA football history. And I know, well, but what about all the losses to ranked teams? Well, he beat ranked teams before that, and he's going to do that again, and he has an opportunity to do it again. I mean, since 2015, they've won at least 8 games every real season. They've had 4 10-win seasons. They've won division titles. They have won previously conference championships. It's not easy to win a conference championship in the Big Ten. I mean, Ohio State hasn't won a conference championship since 2020. I mean, you want to talk about somebody pissed off they're not winning titles. It's Ohio State. They could win the national title and still people bitch that Ryan Day hasn't won a Big Ten championship in 5 years. Penn State fires its coach because it can't get there. So, and I'm not saying that people should just be satisfied and happy, with everything that goes on in Iowa. I mean, yes, you should, but you were right to be pissed off about the offense under Brian Ferentz. It wasn't any good. But I also think that people should have a little respect and look at the offensive line and say, damn, that is a kick-ass offensive line. They're blowing MFs up all the time. The defense is good every year because you have the best defensive coordinator in the country. And I'm ranting right now, but I don't care. And
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Keep going. Keep going.
And it's like, well, they're not going out and they spent $2 million on a quarterback who's won more games than anybody in NCAA history. No, he's not throwing the ball the way you want him to, but he's one rushing touchdown away from tying the Big Ten record set by Denard Robinson for rushing touchdowns by a quarterback in a season. They had a pretty good fucking year. I'm sorry, pardon my French. And And I think that sometimes you got to take ownership of this and say, you know what, we've got a really good team. They're coaching their asses off. Have fun with it. And I know people are going to take shots at me, but I don't give a blank. Sorry, it ran over.
There you go. Yeah, it's. I appreciate all that perspective. It is. I've obviously I wrote that column that I thought the 8-4 season was a success based on, the trajectory of where things are. The fact, you just have to. Take stock of how you see it. And as I said in the top of my tweet, I said not everyone's going to agree, and certainly people don't. But it does. You do appreciate, what has been accomplished this season for the Hawkeyes, and we just talked about Indiana and Oregon, and they were playing the Indiana Classic the other day on BTN at 60. So I actually rewatched that while I was just sitting. I think it was like Friday or something, and I just because nobody else was home, I didn't have any work to do, and I was like, I'm gonna rewatch this again because I just wanted to remember it again. My God, like Iowa had them beat several times. Iowa had the top team in the country beat, and if Gronowski doesn't get hurt, I am so confident that they win that game if Gronowski doesn't get hurt. Stevens missed a field goal, but if you complete a first down there, a screen pass, you win the game because you run out the clock, and Stevens won't miss that. Stevens wouldn't miss a field goal from 35 yards to right down Main Street to win the game. He's clutch. So anyway, I'm just saying, like, that's the team you had this year, and that's why I defend this 8-4 team quite a bit, because it has been to me, in my eyes, a guy that's covered a lot of these teams. It's been one of the good teams that they've had, and the result. You weren't close to these teams 2 years ago. You got beat 92-0. 92-0. Didn't score a point against the 3 ranked teams you faced in 2023. I'm not saying your team is going to win the title or you're not in the playoff. I know that, but you've made some steps here. You've made some progress. If the offense truly is coming around, your offensive line's up for the Joe Moore. My God, remember where your offensive line was in 2021, 2022?
Yeah.
If you got an offensive line, you can compete. And Iowa competed. And, a couple bad breaks didn't go their way this year. An injury to your quarterback, maybe a shoe size out of bounds at USC. Yeah. An elbow an inch higher on TJ Hall against Oregon, and you win that game. It doesn't count. I know it doesn't count, but it is. This is a good Iowa team, and I think I can't remember if I mentioned this last week, but I know I did on Hawk Central. This is the biggest point differential Iowa's had since 2018, Scott. In points for, points against, there's 9 points shy of that 2018 team. And if by chance they beat Vanderbilt by 10 or more, it would be the most since 2008. Okay. 2008, all the way back to 2008. One of Ferentz's favorite teams, and he's been comparing this team to 2008 all season long. And I'm not saying they're going to do it, but I do know that the Hawkeyes routed a rival at the end of that season on the road, famously, and then went to the Outback Bowl / ReliaQuest Bowl and beat a pretty damn good coach in Steve Spurrier with a freaking good offensive line. I'm not saying that's going to happen again, but it does feel like 2008 again in terms of what this team is. So I've liked this team. I've enjoyed this team. I thought this team was so much more fun to watch than any of the previous 4, at least. 4. 2020 was fun. It just didn't have fans. So to me, I go back to 19 as the last time I had this much fun watching the Hawkeyes, because it wasn't the same without the fans.
Yeah. That really was hard, and I felt really bad. There were 2 times I felt bad that year, and one was Luka Garza's jersey retirement ceremony, because I thought this sucks for Luka and it sucks for the fans that you can't enjoy him in person, and see what a great player he was over and over and over again, and him get his kudos for that. And the other one was beating Wisconsin, because Wisconsin was booger for Iowa for a long time, and they beat them decisively, and Amir flips in the end zone and everything. And I thought, man, that really stunk, but they were playing really well at the end of the year. And really the front part of 2021 was a lot of fun for Iowa too. I mean, Penn State game, Maryland, from the Purdue game on, it got to be a real grind for them. But yeah, this is a really good year. I'm really, again, yes, they have not won those ranked opponents. But as you said, Chad, 2 years ago with Deacon Hill as the quarterback, they couldn't even, they would have been better off punting on first down in that bowl game and against Michigan, because they were worse on offense. They were -0, on offense for anything that year. And now that you feel like, hey, like Mark Gronowski leads them on a 93-yard drive against Oregon. And to seemingly win the game. Well, they make some plays because they got some great players. And then USC, as you said, if that play gets called inbounds, maybe he's safe. And the Iowa State game feels like a million years ago. And hey, Gabe Burkle made a hell of a catch on a crazy play and then a 54-yard field goal beat him. It stinks for Iowa that you don't have that game you can rely on. And of course, if they beat Iowa State, everybody would complain, well, they're not ranked now, are they? And so it doesn't matter. You're never going to make anybody happy. And if they beat Vanderbilt, who is a very, very good team, by the way, if they do that, it's like, well, it's just Vanderbilt. Nobody cares about Vanderbilt. It's just people like to bitch.
Well, Athletic Brewing is a sponsor of Legends and Listeners, and we're very happy to have them aboard. America's largest dedicated non-alcoholic brewer is sponsoring our show, and I, for one, am thrilled to have them aboard. Tonight's choice from Athletic Brewing is an Athletica, a bright take on a Mexican-style copper. It is a medium-bodied brew that boasts, I'm going to quote the website here, that boasts a lightly toasted malt character with a whisper of spicy florals before rolling into smooth and lightly sweet waves of bread crust and wheat. How about that description? Who wouldn't want to have one of those for your lunch beer today? And you can, because Athletic Brewing is fit for all times. Please visit their website, athleticbrewing.com, for a variety of their products. They've got tons and tons of good stuff. I'm always partial to the IPAs, but we've been having a lot of Mexican food in the house lately. So this Mexican-style copper is going to go down nice and smooth here while we finish the rest of the show, Scott.
Yeah, and I think for those of you who might want something a little bit stronger but taste just as good as those Athletic breweries, there's always Big Grove. And Big Grove, as we know, has awesome patios. And unfortunately, you're not going to really want to sit out very long on one of them because of all the snow we've been getting lately. But the vibe is still great inside. The 4 locations throughout Iowa, and Cedar Rapids and Iowa City, South Iowa City, got a great view there. Go there before one of the games this winter. Des Moines, fantastic downtown location. Of course, the OG in Solon, which Ben McCollum was eating at twice a day in the summer. Food at their tap rooms, terrific. The Tenderloin, can't recommend it enough. And then they have their signature beers, Easy Eddie. Everybody loves Easy Eddie. I do too. I think it's great. I'm not much of an IPA guy, but I do love that. There's the Citrus Surfer. If you like your lagers, neighborhood beer, it's right there. It's the neighborhood choice. And then probably one of my favorites that doesn't get discussed enough, in my opinion, is Boomtown. It's a golden ale. It's brewed right in the heart of Iowa City with the choicest Midwestern barley and select hops. That's one that I really recommend. And then if you're looking for a pale ale, there's always the Arms Race, which of course we know these schools are in the sports context. But the Arms Race, it's a pale ale. Big Grove Classic features rich malt character and a massive Citra hop notes. So enjoy away here this holiday season with a Royal Eddie, an Easy Eddie, and the Boomtown.
Well, Scott, let's talk about Iowa's bowl matchup in Tampa. ReliaQuest Bowl, December 31st this year, 11 a.m. Central Time on ESPN. 2 winners at quarterback, Mark Gronowski, Diego Pavia. You at The Athletic said it was the most, interesting or the best matchup of non-playoff games. Is that right?
That is correct. It is number 1 for me.
Wow. So give us your thoughts.
I think there are so many rich storylines here with this game. I mean, if you look at the other side, and I'll just try to do that, even though, and we could talk Iowa all day and all night as we always do. But for Vanderbilt, they've never had a season like this. This is like Indiana light, if you will. I mean, 10 wins. They've never had a 10-win season before. They've never won 6 games in the SEC, and they did this year. They've never had a player like Diego Pavia, who is going to New York. He's a Heisman finalist, and I think he'll end up in the top 2. He is he's the type of player that if he's on your team, you swear by him, you love him, and if he's against you, you hate his guts with a passion you can't explain. He is a cocky, arrogant, awesome player. And what he's done for Vanderbilt is just otherworldly. I mean, he's short, he's squatty, but man, he is tough, and he does everything that you want him to do. I mean, he's thrown for almost 3,200 yards, 27 touchdowns. He completes 71% of his passes. He also runs for more than 800 yards and 9 scores. He can sling it, and he's gonna be a guy that the players, Iowa players, and him will start jawing. No question about it.
He's going to play. He's going to play.
Yeah, I don't see him not. And then, of course, we know on the other side for Iowa, you have the winningest quarterback in NCAA history in Mark Gronowski, who, I mentioned, one rushing touchdown away from tying Denard Robinson for the most in a single season for a quarterback in Big Ten history. You've got Phil Parker, the best defensive coordinator in the game, going against the most exciting player in college football today. So, and great storylines, and they're both black and gold. They're just different shades. Second year in a row, Iowa's playing a black and gold team in a bowl game.
Well, that's right. And it is, I would say, based on what we've seen, I don't cover Vanderbilt, but everything I've read out of there is they're going all in for this bowl game as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so these are this is like an old school bowl game, like we used to watch, where the teams really want to win and they really care. And I do believe Iowa, players very much care about this. This is a chance for them to get a ranked win. We talked about that. We know the record. It's 0-13 now against ranked opponents, but the last five losses, Scott, all within 5 points, all of them. Mm-hmm. Missouri, Iowa State, Indiana, Oregon, USC. Did I leave anybody out? I don't think so. So, can they get that off their backs? Now, the Hawkeyes, of course, as Kirk Ferentz said, we're underdogs again. We always are in the bowl games, and I think they're underdogs by about 5.5 points.
Has it grown, huh?
So it's going to be it opened at 5.5. Maybe it's down to it's by 4.5 now. Yeah. Okay, so it's 4 to 5. Okay, let's say 5. Okay. I don't know. So I was going to have an uphill climb here for sure, but it's what you would want. Like, you wouldn't want to go to a bowl game where you're expected to win. I mean, this year, this team, like, I feel like you should want that challenge. You've had these challenges. You've been close. It would be an unbelievable narrative to say you got over the top against one of these upper echelon teams. Let's be honest. Like I look at Vanderbilt's resume and I'm pretty impressed. I mean, I would have liked to see them in the playoff, honestly. Like, I think they were a worthy playoff team. I'm not saying I would have put them in the field, but I'm not saying I wouldn't have either. I mean, they went 10-2, and they just went into Knoxville and just absolutely slaughtered Tennessee, and that's a pretty good Tennessee team. And they've been just mowing people down. I mean, they are number one. I mean, you talk one exciting team in the playoff. They're number one in the country in yards per play. One.
Yeah. They're
ahead of Indiana. They're ahead of Oregon. They're ahead of USC. All with hyper explosive offenses in the Big Ten. They're one. And they got the best, they maybe have the best quarterback in the country, depending on who you voted for in the Heisman.
Yeah, right. I'll tell you next week or off air.
Yeah, but, I will too.
Yeah. Well, they've scored 45 points in each of their last 3 games. Auburn, Kentucky, and Tennessee. The last 2 are their biggest rivals, and one's in state and one's border state. And they were very good. They're very decisive. I mean, Tennessee has a horrible defense, but they have a good offense, and to hold them to 24 is pretty good outcome for them. They got down a lot in the game at Texas, but then they came back and made it a game. Only lost by 3, and they lost decisively at Alabama, but that Alabama team is a little better than the version that they've been trotting out there for about last month. And plus, they beat Alabama last year, and everybody took the goalposts down Broadway and downtown Nashville, and put them in the river. I mean, it was like one of the great moments in sports there. But I mean, this is a great story, and we could talk about that until you start getting hyped for the game. But Eli Stowers is the best tight end in the country. I mean, he's second year in a row. He's first team All SEC. Pavia, of course, is first team All SEC, and he'll be either first or second team All American quarterback, and first or second in the Heisman voting. And he's a rowdy guy, and they got rowdy fans. So they'll either fit in really well with Iowa, or there's going to be a great big brawl. I don't know which will happen, but they're a talented team. And Clark Lee has done an amazing job coaching. He was a Notre Dame assistant and went to his alma mater, and he's really done a great job there. So I expect it to be a tough one, as you said, Chad. What a great opportunity for Iowa.
Yeah,
you're playing a 10-2 team that's from the SEC. They're ranked 14th. You're not playing a 7-5 team that's just we're just here, and then you win big, and then it's
right.
like but what for what? This time you're playing somebody who cares, and if you win, then hey, you erase that bugaboo, the 0 for 13, and then you also kind of propel yourself for a nice offseason. Yeah,
definitely. I don't ever want to tell people how to spend their money ever.
Yeah.
But if you're ever going to go to a bowl game, this might be the one to go to. If you've ever been on the fence about this, Tampa, Florida, I'm telling you, I'm excited to go back. I mean, the weather is, I'm not going to promise it's going to be perfect, but it's going to be pretty nice. Probably in the 70s most days, probably going to see some sun. And you're going to find some good places to eat. It's not that expensive. I mean, I was looking at hotels this morning even, and I mean, I've already got my book, but they're not bad from what I can tell. So, it's and you get a good matchup. Who knows what you're going to get in the future at a bowl game, ever. You might not ever get another matchup like this until you make a playoff game. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's and it should be fun. I mean, I think I don't know how Vanderbilt travels. I have no idea, but I would think a season like this, people are probably pretty excited about it. I'm guessing they're gonna, whatever fans they have, are going to be excited about it too. I would think. I don't know that, but I would think they would have a decent crowd there too, and I'm sure the Hawkeyes will travel decently as well. So it should be a really fun game, and that leads right into the playoff, right?
Yeah,
later that day.
Yeah, it's the Cotton Bowl, the Ohio State game.
Yeah,
it's either A&M or Miami. So it goes that. Michigan, Texas, which is my number 2 matchup, because I mean, you talk about helmet game, and plus you have Bryce Underwood, and Arch Manning, and there's a lot there with that as well. But I think that if you're on it's because the bowl games face kind of an existential threat in my eyes right now after what Notre Dame did, and partly a little bit with Iowa State and Kansas State. I don't blame them for what happened there, but Notre Dame backing out and the potential expansion. Bowl games are going to continue to be devalued, and we don't know what the future holds and where they might go, and what Iowa might do. I mean, next year they might be 7-5. Next year they might be 10-2. Who cares? We'll worry about that when it gets here. But I think this is a great matchup. This is 2 ranked teams in the real poll, not the one that people think is real, and I think this is one that. Is the most exciting one to me, because how's Diego Pavia going to handle Phil Parker? What's Phil Parker going to do to contain him? How is Iowa's offensive line, which I think is the equal to, if not the best in the country? Indiana's is fantastic, and Oregon's is fantastic, but Iowa's pretty damn good too. So I think this is a rich matchup, and second year in a row you're playing a black and gold team. Maybe you pull this one out.
Yeah. A couple little newsy items before we get into basketball here. Somewhat newsy anyway. Kirk Ferentz saying he doesn't expect any opt-outs for this game. That's expected, but good news. I can't even think of anybody that would opt out, honestly. Just interviewing these guys and knowing these guys, it's hard for me to picture any of them opting out of the game. I know the offensive lines, I ran into them the other day. They're all playing. I mean, those guys, it's not that there would be a question, not that you ever but it's like, I mean, Gronowski's going to play. I mean, it's just, why wouldn't you play? This is, a team that is really tight. They're really tightly knit. And then also quarterbacks. It was signing day the other day. I want to talk about quarterbacks, Scott. Tyler Barnes saying that they feel good about what they've got in the room. So they're not going to go in the portal for quarterback. I think that's a pretty notable admission / statement about what they feel like they have in the room. What are your thoughts on that? That for the first time in a long time, Iowa's not going to be active in the portal for a quarterback unless someone leaves.
Yeah, I suppose that could happen after the bowl game. I think it's the right move right now. If you like what you have in both Hecklinski and Hank Brown, and they've talked them both up, let them compete and feel pretty good about what you have there. Jimmy Sullivan as well, and Bessinger when he gets going. It'll be a while. I mean, you don't expect anything, but you don't withhold them either. So I think that's a good sign. I think that means that they like him, and Hecklinski's. Again, comparisons are apt with Drew Tate. Now, whether he can have that kind of success, especially in Drew Tate's first year, is unknown. But you got to see what you got. I mean, Iowa can't every year just go out and spend $2 million or more on a free agent quarterback. You just, Cade McNamara wasn't that much, but still did not work. And Brendan Sullivan did to an extent, but and Mark Gronowski did. But of course you want to be a little bit more prolific in your passing game, and maybe both these guys, whoever emerges as number one, will give you that. So I think it's a good sign.
Yeah, I definitely, as an observer of this Hawkeye program, as somebody who thinks highly of the job Tim Lester has done, I'm excited to see now him get a chance to coach a system quarterback for 2, 3, 4 years. That's kind of what I want to see unfold, because I want to see how it does work. He hasn't had the type of thrower he's needed yet, in 2 years of his offense. But this will be, Hecklinski goes into year 2 in the offense. So does Hank Brown. And eventually, if they do stay, they'll be both going into year 3. Yeah. And how much does that help grow the passing game? Because again, going back to my 8-4 success conversation, like you've established now that you have an offensive line that has some muscle to it, some teeth. You do have to replace some guys, sure, but they're developing. It seems like they are on a good developmental track. It's not like you ran into a recruiting dearth wasteland like you did with some of these offensive line classes. Like they have stacked good offensive line classes upon one another, and they just signed another one. Big time. I mean, I don't know anything about Carson Nielsen yet, but I wouldn't be totally counting him out of the tackle rotation next year as a true freshman. I mean, that's how good they're recruiting right now. So anyway, what I'm saying is the passing game's the last thing to come, and if he feels like they've got good throwers, Lester, I trust him right now on what he sees at quarterback. And if they I know he likes Hecklinski, I know he likes Brown, and he thinks they're both mobile too. They're not Gronowski, but they can move. So I think I'm just excited to see it play out. Like, I just don't want to see let's bring an injured quarterback in here and then hope he's healthy by fall camp. That's basically been it the last 3 years.
That has been unfortunate. I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just kind of been a part where you're crossing your fingers, whether it's, with Cade McNamara, he's coming off a knee, and then, and then he has that injury right away, and then an ACL, and then you have Gronowski's shoulder, he can't participate, and you can see that it did affect him, in the first couple of games. And now you've got guys, and you hope that they stay healthy through the spring, summer, and fall camp, and then they could go out there and really flex. I think that would be, a really good move. And so I like the way that they're set up now. I mean, Reese Vanderzee is their number one receiver. He's, on the outside. He is a really good player, and he's made some incredible catches. What I want to see him more involved with is getting 6 catches a game, regular catches too. I mean, the 15-yard dig, stuff like that. He's made the great ones, and he's going to make great ones because he's a good receiver. But then the player I've probably been most impressed with that's made that big jump is DJ Voname. And I think having him and a healthy Addison Ostrenga, I think they've got a chance to have a pretty good 1-2 punch there, and not to say that Thomas Meyer or even Michael Burt or Zach Ortworth can't hop in and be that way, but DJ Voname has really stepped up to the point where I think he's going to be a freshman All-American at that position, and to go from being high school quarterback to tight end that quickly and making that transition and becoming he'll be a better blocker after he goes through the weight grind in the winter. And I think that, that position group is taken back over, and you just kind of need a home run threat. I think you need a couple of more receivers to take steps forward, and I think you need somebody to emerge as more of a home run threat at running back.
Yeah, I would go heavy in the portal on receiver if you can get one. I know they're expensive, but since you got quarterback money to spend, you're on a rookie quarterback deal. So go pay for a receiver is what I would do. Let's talk some hoops. Before we do, though, Central Iowa, your chance to see the Iowa men's basketball team in action is coming very, very soon. On Saturday, December 20th, the Hawkeyes will play host to the Bucknell Bison at Casey Center. Great seats are available by purchasing tickets at HiVTix.com. But if you don't want to buy tickets, you want to give yourself a chance to win them in a contest. Iowa Everywhere wants to send you to the game. You can enter on our website. Go to the contest tab, and we'll throw. And if you win them, it's a pair of tickets, so 2 tickets available. And if you win, we'll throw in a $50 gift card to Big Grove Brewery as well. Winners will be announced and notified on December 12th. So coming up very, very soon. So you got to get in soon, Scott. Cyhawk hoops this week. I feel like we should go in sequential order, don't you? The Iowa women and Iowa State women face tonight. That's an ESPN broadcast, 6 o'clock at Hilton Coliseum. Number 10 Cyclones, number 11 Hawkeyes. Both teams are undefeated, Scott. Wow, what a game, what a matchup. Audie Crooks against Ava Hayden. This is going to be quite a matchup, and I don't know which way it's going to go.
I don't either, and that's the good beauty of sport, right? I mean, I think when you have 2 of the best players in the country that have played, for the first month and played as well as anybody, and Audie Crooks and Ava Hayden, I think you've got magic. And they're 2 completely different players. Audie, despite her size, is such a amazing finesse player and can do so many different things. I mean, she's kind of like Dirk Nowitzki in a different kind of body. I mean, she averages 27 points a game, and just a phenomenal player. And it's going to be hard to both front her and defend her in different ways. And then you look at and Ava Hayden, she's really is
great.
Yeah, she's amazing first month of the season. I mean, she went from being good at times last year, kind of sporadically, to and you throw her on with Hannah Stolke in the post. Layla Hayes has been a nice addition there as well, to take some real important reps. I mean, you start to wonder, okay, how do you defend Audie Crooks? But how are they going to defend Iowa? Especially in transition. I don't know. And, there's a lot of other important matchups as well.
Yeah, transfer point guards here in this game. Jada Williams, the girl that visited Iowa and then ended up going to Ames, I think, the next day, and then committing to the Cyclones from Arizona. She's been playing great for Iowa State. And then Chit Chat Wright for the Hawkeyes. She's been in the concussion protocol, but Jan Jensen did say on Tuesday that she will play in Hilton, so that's good news for the Hawkeyes. They don't quite have Emily Rodriguez back, it doesn't sound like, but Iowa's been doing okay without her for now. Journey Houston's playing really well. Like you said, they've got, this is the most size that Iowa has had in its front court in a really long time. With Hayden, Hayes, and Stolke, it'll be interesting to see how, does Iowa try to run them out? Iowa State averages 95+ plus per game. So it's not like they don't want to just slow it down either. And Iowa's been really good defensively this year. That's kind of the underrated part about Jan Jensen's team so far, is they have really played outstanding defense, and that helps when you're playing a bigger lineup, frankly, and you're getting more rebounds. I mean, Iowa is out rebounding teams very handily, and that's because Stolke's now at the 4. I mean, some people want to complain, hey, well, they don't have the outside. Well, they're out rebounding teams like crazy. They're defending teams like crazy. Stolke can defend, a smaller player rather than, Camila Cardozo, when we saw that in the national, you know what I mean? It's just a different team now. And it's one corner kind of more suited to Jan Jensen. It'll be fun to see how this team plays, because she's the post coach, like she's got her posts now. Hayden, Hayes, and another year of Stolke. So it'll be fun to just see, what Iowa deploys strategy wise. And I expect it to be a really good game. I lean Cyclones in this one just because the home crowd. Iowa's still a pretty young team, but I imagine the spread's going to be pretty tight. So I'm going to lean Cyclones, but I think it's going to be a great game. Much better game than the men, probably, not to tease that.
I think this is a pick'em, classic pick'em. And, and I think it's one that for bragging rights for Iowa, you need in a desperate way, because you lost in football, you lost in wrestling for the first time in 500 years, and then you're going to probably lose in men's basketball. It's like, I guess you claim baseball because they don't have a team. That's pretty much where you're at right now.
Iowa does need a win in the Cy-Hawk series. That's for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
You just can't keep going on like this. But this year, it's a Cyclone State, and you don't want to hear that, but that's the way it is going. This one could go either way for me, and I'll follow your lead. I'll say Cyclones tight, but I think this is going to be high scoring, which means exciting, and that's fun. But if Iowa does happen to lose, and that could happen, then you're going to have to flush it. And if you're in the Iowa City area, you know where that means. It means go to Ackerman Plumbing. And it's time to discover just how the plumbing industry can be when you choose a customer-first, independently owned and operated business like Ackerman Plumbing. Ackerman Plumbing services the Iowa City area, and we're thankful for their support here on Iowa Everywhere's Legends and Listeners and Instant Iowa. Ackerman is only in the residential plumbing business, so your calls matter and will always be answered in a timely manner. Whether it's for a plumbing emergency, routine service and maintenance, equipment replacement, or upgrades like tankless water heaters, water filtration systems, or you just had too much to eat and things happen, call Ackerman. We love businesses that are growing, and Ackerman is looking for another service tech. So if that's you or you know someone, reach out to Ackerman. Shout out to their team, Corey, Stacy, Aaron, Nathan, and all the rest. So visit ackerman-plumbing.com for 5-star residential plumbing services in the Iowa City region.
Well, we talked about the Iowa State women. The Iowa State men play Thursday night, also at Hilton. That's how this thing works. That's 7 o'clock Fox Sports 1 telecast. By the way, the women's game has the Ryan Rucco, Rebecca Lobo tandem calling that game. So it's going to have a real big game feel tonight over in Ames. I can't wait to be there. I'll be there for both. But the men's game is more from an Iowa perspective here, Scott. It's like, can you improve upon the Michigan State loss last week? The Hawkeyes went into a tough environment, lost last week. 71-52 to the Spartans. We talked a little bit about that game on our show last week, I think. And and then on the flip side, the Iowa State men just went into one of the tougher Big Ten arenas and just absolutely curb stomped Purdue, number one in the country. Purdue just absolutely whipped them. They are now number 2 in KenPom. They're number 6 in KenPom offense, number 6 in KenPom defense. That's a crazy stat. I mean, that's national championship level type stats right now. This is going to be a really tough game for the Hawkeyes. Haven't seen a line yet, but KenPom has Iowa State winning by 13. And Iowa has a decent team. That's how good Iowa State is right now.
Yeah, I was in downtown Indianapolis on Saturday, and I mean, just kind of like the shock. There's like a couple of places that have like TVs in the windows, and they were all turned to basketball instead of even the because it's still Indiana rather than some of the college football games. And people are like, "Wow, are you seeing this?" And the IU fans are even blown away. I mean, 23-point victory is the largest margin of victory over a home team that's number one in NCAA history. I mean, it's just unbelievable what they were able to do. And I know in some respects it was like, what an elixir after what you just had to taste the day before with Matt Campbell and Iowa State fans needed that in the worst way, and Purdue, well, they'll be fine for it. But I think when you're talking about Iowa and last week, what happened at Michigan State, it was just one of those days that happen in Breslin Center from time to time. Good teams go there and get smoked, and Iowa's a good team. Iowa and Michigan State smoked them. It's more than capable of happening here, but I don't think that Ben McCollum's just going to want to say, well, we'll just take our lumps there and move on. He's a very competitive, fiery person himself, and I'm sure he's going to show that. And this is a red meat day for a Cyclone fan base that wants to really, he has a lot of pent-up emotion. And they're going to bring out Jimmy Rogers, and he, who knows, he might say something the way Signetti did 2 years ago. It maybe says it about Iowa. So they're really going to rally around themselves. I think this is a good game though for Bennett Sturts and Ben McCollum to say, okay, they just had an 8-0 run and they're up 6. Calm down. We call the timeout. Level it out. Concentrate. You've been through this. Move on. And if they can somehow, and I'm not into moral victories, Chad, but if they could somehow keep this under 10 and keep it a competitive game through the final media timeout, then I think you kind of say, you know what, we're playing good basketball. And because this is a place where very few teams are going to win, maybe nobody this year. And this is a team that they're playing that's capable of playing on the final weekend. So it's just about you're continuing to build your program. It's part of the process, as Matt Campbell would say.
Yeah. Now there is, the fact that you're not going to have a hangover probably, but anytime you beat a number one team in the country on the road, you're probably going to have a little bit of it's going to be hard to repeat that. So if you're Iowa, you hope you just kind of catch them. Maybe they just have a little bit of an off day, but I'm with you. It'd be fun to see a competitive game. The last time Iowa played at Iowa State, it got its doors blown off, 90-65, and it really wasn't even that close up in Ames. I'm talking about up in Ames, and so that was like ugly basketball. You want it, if you're an Iowa fan, you want to see this be competitive, like you said. This is probably the toughest game they've got left on the schedule. Now the Hawks do have to go to Mackey yet, so you get to go to Breslin, Hilton, and Mackey all in the same year. That'll be fun, and they do have to host Michigan, which also looks unstoppable.
Yeah,
but
that might be the team.
Yeah, at least that's in Carver. But anyway, so this is going to be tough. Nobody thinks Iowa's going to win the national title this year, but you're right. You want them to look competitive. You want them to look like a tournament team. You don't want them to look like 2023 Iowa football against a ranked team. So I don't think they will. I'm with you. I think McCollum will have them ready. If I had to guess, I would probably take Iowa plus the points here, but I definitely wouldn't take Iowa to win. I've got the Cyclones I'll say Cyclones by 9.
Okay. I think that's a fair line. But I'll say this. Iowa bounced back in great fashion and beating the daylights out of Maryland at home. And Maryland, has a great coach in Buzz Williams, first year there. And it was decisive. I mean, I when I was in Indy, I made a point, I think it was during the halftime of the SEC game. I'm like, okay, I'm going to sit at my computer and watch a little bit of this Maryland game. And Iowa owned Maryland. And I thought that, okay, Iowa put its loss behind them, won by 19 against a team that was in the Sweet 16 last year. That's impressive to me. And again, this is not the same environment you're ever going to go in. This is the most intimidating one. And that they're playing a very good team, but where you can get a team like this is when they get highly emotional and then they get on a run and it's 121 decibels in that place. Because I've seen it when it's been last year when they played BYU, it was ear splitting. In fact, I recorded it. It was higher than even the when they came back and beat or came back from 20 down to tie BYU. It was louder than it was for Caitlin Clark's shot against Indiana. I mean, it is loud in there.
Yeah.
But guess what? They've got one of the best point guards in the country, and they've got one of the best coaches in the country. And as long as they keep their composure, they've got a team capable of competing, and that's all you can ask for. And if you get to the point where inside of 8 minutes you're not down double figures. Mm-hmm. Play possession by possession, because if you get it to a point where it's a one-score game and 5 minutes are to left, that's when Iowa State's going. That's when they start to clench up, and that's when you play loose. So I'm not predicting it to happen, but I'm saying that's an opportunity for Iowa.
Yeah, I think if Iowa's going to win, they got to get more from Alvaro Folgueras. He's really given them not much lately. Foul trouble has been killing him. Horizon League Player of the Year, you got to get more out of him. But yeah, the Bennett Sturts, he was held in check pretty well by Michigan State. Had his worst night probably as a Hawkeye over there in East Lansing. Let's see how he bounces back. I have a lot of confidence in how he's going to play. He's just a really, 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 really good player, and I expect him to be kind of loosened up now that he's faced one environment like that. He won't be quite as intimidated, I don't think. So I think it'll be a good game, but I think the Cyclones win it. Good show, Scott. We ran through a lot there tonight.
Yeah, there is a lot going on. And
sheesh.
The last point I'll say is somebody better guard Mancilovic. I don't know if that's possible, but somebody better try.
Yeah, I'm sure McCollum has him circled. But yeah, that's one thing McCollum is renowned for is his X's and O's. So we'll see how he decides to draw this one up on Thursday night. Great show. Thank you to all our listeners out there. You have been listening to Legends and Listeners, as always, from the Channel Seed Studios, only on Iowa Everywhere.